Welcome back to your completely free training course for Windows 7. In this video, I will look at a new feature in Windows 7 called HomeGroup. In previous versions of Windows, if you wanted to share files on a home network, you would use what is called a workgroup. A workgroup is when you have a number of computers on the same network grouped together under the same workgroup name. If you are familiar with domains, this may sound the same as a domain environment. The big difference between a domain and a workgroup is that with a workgroup there is no central management. This means that each computer manages its own usernames and passwords. To illustrate this, imagine you log onto one computer with the username John Doe. You then try to connect to another computer on the network to access a file share. The computer would check its local user accounts database for the username and password for John Doe. If the username did not exist, then the user on the first computer would be prompted for a username and password. If the user connected to a number of different computers on the same network, then that user would need to know a username and password for each computer. If you did not want to get prompted for a username and password for each computer, you could create a username and password with the name of each user that will be connected to that computer. With a workgroup, the more users in the workgroup means the more usernames and passwords you would have to create on each computer. A problem then occurs when you change a password on one computer. When this occurs, you will also need to change the password on the other computers. With no centralized administration, you can quickly see that managing a workgroup starts to become a lot more complex as soon as you start adding more computers. Any more than a few computers can quickly become an administration nightmare trying to keep all the usernames and passwords up to date. This is where HomeGroup comes into play. On a network like this, you can configure a HomeGroup. Once a HomeGroup is set up, all each computer needs to do is enter in a password. The password is entered in once, and that's it. The computer is now in the home group and can access any files or printer shared in the home group. No need to worry about keeping usernames and passwords up to date. HomeGroup is a new feature in Windows 7. To create a home group, you need to be running Windows 7 Home Premium, Professional, Enterprise, or the Ultimate Edition of Windows 7. If you are running a different edition of Windows 7, you can join a home group that has already been created. HomeGroup is designed for home users to share resources between each other easily. For this reason, if your computer is joined to a domain, then you will not be able to create a home group. However, a computer joined to a domain can access resources in an existing home group. This allows a domain computer to access files or printers in a home group, but the domain-based computer will not be able to share any of its resources in the home group. Unfortunately, if you are running any earlier versions of Windows, such as Windows Vista or Windows XP, you will not be able to use it to join a home group. Let's have a look at how to configure Windows 7 to use a home group. To set up a home group, first, I need to log on to a computer on my home network. From here, open the control panel and select Network and Internet. Once inside Network and Internet, I have the option to select Home Group. Notice at the top, I have a message saying this computer cannot connect to a home group. If your computer is in a domain or the network location is set incorrectly, it will not be able to create or join a home network. In this case, the network profile is set incorrectly for HomeGroup to operate. To correct this, I will open Network and Sharing Center. My network profile is currently set to Work Network. If I select this, I can change the network profile to Home Network. Notice that when I change the profile, the HomeGroup wizard will automatically start. When you first set up your computer, you may have got this wizard. If I cancel the wizard and go back to HomeGroup, I can now select the option Create a Home Group. The same wizard as before will appear, so it does not matter if I manually run the wizard or completed it when it was automatically run. From here, I can select which items on my computer I want to share in the home group. In this case, I will accept the defaults of pictures, music, videos, and printers. You could also share documents if you wanted to. Once the home group is created, you will be given a password to access the home group. The default password is very difficult to remember, so Microsoft gives you the option to print it out. If I complete the wizard, I also have the option to change the password to something that is a little easier to remember. In this case, I will just enter in password, but on your network, you should choose a more complex password. Now that my home group is complete, I will now switch to another computer on my network running Windows 7. The procedure to join a home group starts the same way. Open the control panel, select Network and Internet, and then select Home Group. At the top, you can see a message stating that a home group has already been created on the network. To join this home group, press the button at the bottom, Join Now. Since I am joining a home group, I can decide what I want to share in the home group. I can accept the defaults, but not all computers in the home group have to share the same things or share anything in the home group for that matter. It is completely up to them what they make available to others in the home group. Next, I will need to enter in the password for the home group. Once done, the computer will join the home group. If I now close Home Group and then open Windows Explorer, I can now open the section Home Group. In here, I will be able to see all the other files that are being shared across the network. If I open Devices and Printers from the Start menu, you will see that one of the printers that is installed on the other computer is now available on this computer. If the printer does not appear, check the computer that the printer is installed on and make sure that the printer has been shared on the network. If the printer is shared on the network, go into Home Group and check to see if you get a message asking you to install the printer drivers on the computer. Once done, you will be able to print any document on this computer to the printer connected to the other computer. That's it for Home Network. In the next video, I will look at how to share folders in Windows 7. Whether you use a domain, workgroup, or home group, sharing is an important feature to understand. To see the rest of this free training course on Windows 7, see our website or our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.